Good evening, dear viewers. It's 9 p.m. in Djibouti and you're watching RTD's English News Edition, the major stories. Discussions on the third-party cooperation in Djibouti, between Djibouti and IGAD. In all international news, Spain's state prosecutor asks for charges to be brought against Catalan's political leadership. Thank you for joining us. This morning has been held in the Kempinski Palace a conference entitled the European Union Djibouti IGAD Cooperation, a ceremony co-chaired by the Prime Minister Abdulkadir Kamil Mohammed and the Ambassador of the European Union in the Republic of Djibouti, Adam Kulech, within the presence of the Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Moussedouali, and the Executive Secretary of Intergovernmental Authority for Development, Mr. Mahyoub Malin. Four main themes were on the agenda of this presentation on the EU-Djibouti IGAD cooperation, namely the European Union's infrastructure projects as well as other incoming projects. Under the 10th and 11th European Funds of Djibouti, DFED, not to mention the projects of the Emergency Trust Fund for East Africa, and finally the projects of the EU in partnership with IGAD. Among the projects of the European Union executed in Djibouti, the project of construction of a desalination plant, the project of electrical interconnection with Ethiopia, and the sewage treatment plant of Duda. Beside the Prime Minister, the members of the government and the representative of the embassies of the EU member states, the entire diplomatic corps accredited in Djibouti, and representative of national and international organizations presented this day on EU-Djibouti IGAD cooperation. The Secretary General of IGAD has said the following.
The relationship between IGAD and the European Union, I must tell you, is growing from strength to strength. 15 out of 51 ongoing projects, the major ones which have the greatest financing levels, are being financed through the European Union support, totaling presently to nearly 80 million or so euros. And this is only part of what's going on. However, under the 11th European Development Funding cycle, we have also a substantial amount of support in various dockets of support. I'll give you an example, particularly the peace and security docket, for example, where we have over 40 million or so euros already in the pipeline for our use. I must congratulate the European Union for understanding, more than any other development partner, the need for strengthening regional cooperation. You'll be surprised that barely 7 years ago, as I took over this post I'm in now, there has not been any understanding by any of the finance institutions for a need to have a regional window of support from any quarter. There was no such opportunity from the World Bank. There was no such opportunity from the African Development Bank. There was no such opportunity from KfW in Germany. There was no such opportunity from Islamic Development Bank from anywhere other than European Union. We had to go around and make positive noises and to make a case. And now is when we have all these other support mechanisms and understanding from various institutions. Yes, over and above bilateral relations with the countries that form membership of the African Union, there is need for them to be able to have a window of support mechanism for regional organizations.
The Minister of Finance, in his capacity as the coordinator of the European Union Development Fund, Ilyas Moussedouali, has summarized all the projects supported by the EU under the 11th EDF or European Union Development Fund. More details in his speech.
The cooperation between the European Union and the Republic of Djibouti is part of what is commonly known as the Cotonou Agreement. This is to say that the concept of partnership is at the heart of our relation with the European Union. The ACP and EU partnership covers the field of development cooperation, but also the economic, commercial, political and security domains. Our country has always honored the good functioning of this partnership because as a partnership it involved the respect of mutual commitments and mutual accountability, and therefore necessarily a permanent dialogue on the follow-up of these commitments.
The Prime Minister said the efforts of European Union countries to promote regional economic development projects also serve to preserve peace and stability in the region, and what should be done to keep peace too. More information from the Prime Minister.
The economic and financial cooperation among all the countries of Africa will be the means of establishing a definitive peace in this region. This will be the way to bring people together. The government of Djibouti is fully aware of this. Many governments in IGAD member countries have the same foresight. The financial support of the international community must therefore intervene massively to reinforce these orientation and thus avert all kind of conflict in the countries of the sub-region. The European community therefore has a major role to play in achieving these goals, and the great countries of which it is composed and which have been at the origin of the creation of Europe, with which we have in addition an important bilateral cooperation.
Under the chairmanship of Shamaki Musa Arre, the Finance General Economy and Planning Committee met to consider the draft budget law amending the state budget for 2017 financial year. The government was represented by the Budget Minister Bode Ahmed Roble, along with the senior officials of various departments of the ministry. The chair of the commission made the decision to review this bill in two meetings to scrutinize the revenues and expenses. The 2017 rectifying budget is balanced, and the budget has been stopped to a total of 131,646,000,000 francs Djibouti in receipts and expense, a nominal increase of the order of 10,821,000,000 francs. According to the minister, this increase is due to domestic revenues, including the sale of housing and dividends. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation spokesman for the government, Mohammed Ali Yusuf, yesterday participated in the meeting of Foreign Affairs Ministers and Chief of Staff of the member states of the coalition supporting the legitimacy of the power in Yemen of President Abdul Rabbu Mansur Hadi. In this meeting, reaffirmed the need to support the legitimate government of Yemen so that it can extend its sovereignty throughout the entire territory, but also spoke about the financial reparation due to the families of the victims of imprecise air raids. At this meeting, participants focused on strengthening the coordination of the coalition's humanitarian, political and military operations with a view to furthering the goals set and enabling the legitimate government to extend its sovereignty over the entire country. They want to see a united, independent, sovereign Yemen. They also discussed the requirements of the next stage to consolidate peace and security in the region and in the world. The United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Bahrain, Pakistan, the Republic of Djibouti, the Republic of Sudan, Senegal, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Morocco, the Kingdom of Malaysia, and Yemen, of course. In his speech, the Djiboutian Foreign Minister stressed that the coalition countries must redouble their efforts to put an end to the suffering of the people of Yemen and launch a vast Arab and international action to restore security and stability. Continuing with the national news, yesterday around 9 o'clock, the train that connects Djibouti and Addis Ababa arrived at the Negad station, where a joyous ceremony was held to celebrate the event. This electric train was carrying ministers and senior officials from the two countries, headed by the two transport ministers, respectively Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa Halim, Djibouti Minister of Transport, and the Ethiopian Minister of Transport, Ahmed Shide. This train stopped at several stations on both sides of the border before reaching Negad station. In an interview, the Ethiopian Minister of Transport, Ahmed Shide, explained the importance of the commissioning of the new train that will increase the volume of trade and import-export Ethiopian. And the minister recalled that the economies of the two countries are independent. He also mentioned the important development efforts undertaken by the two countries, which also focus on strengthening infrastructure. And for his part, the Djiboutian Minister of Transport has addressed the same direction, indicating that the launch of this new electric railway line was decided by the leaders of the two countries and by President Ismail Margele, who reinforces the poor and rail infrastructure priority for the country's policy. There was also the convention signature for a joint management of a border crossing. The Djiboutian Minister of Transport, Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa Hilim, and his Ethiopian counterpart, Ahmed Shide, signed the bilateral agreement establishing the common border post. This agreement formalized 3 years of work of expert committees of both countries. This agreement will allow a coordinated and integrated management approach to the border crossing. It will facilitate the passage or circulation of goods and people at the border. And the Minister of Transport, Mohammed Abdul Qadir, has received the African Department General Director of the Japanese Foreign Affairs Ministry, Mrs. Mariko Kaneko. The Director General was introduced to the Minister by the Ambassador of Japan to Djibouti, Mr. Tetsuo Arai, the Political Attaché of Japan Embassy, Shota Kato, and the Director of Maritime Affairs, Ali Mirwe Shihim. They have taking part in this meeting. The discussions were based on the cooperation of the two countries, and this was the opportunity by the parties to enrich the good cooperation of the two countries. Under the leadership of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, a working meeting was held this morning in the large conference room of Guled Stadium. And this consultation meeting brought together several young people from the associative movements of capital and the regions, and several personalities such as the Secretary General of Youth and Sports, Hassan Mohammed Kamil, Communication Minister Abdi Yusuf Suge, the Secretary of State for Social Affairs, Mrs. Mouna Osman, the Mayor of Djibouti, Fatuma Osman, as well as senior officers of the National Police. This consultation meeting, which comes a week after a similar enforced meeting, is a continuation of meetings of this kind aimed at promoting Republican values, going from principle to the implementation of civic education. The Communication Minister in his speech said this unprecedented approach to promote and consolidating Republican values among young people is a promising initiative for the future. He highlighted a few cases, and he mentioned the absorbing capacity of a young generation in terms of technology and the digital era in which we're living in. In speaking his mind, the Secretary of State did not hesitate to express his joy in seeing youth enthusiastic about a theme that challenges us all, he said, and to encourage this youth who prides itself on Republican vocation to go forward by tackling the shackles they may face in their daily lives. The mobile team of Obok Medical Center led by Dr. Hassan Ibrahim Mohammed has moved to the locality of Budaita Ila Rora in Warabad locality in Obok region. Indeed, for 3 days, Obok's mobile team went to meet the population of these localities. In order to provide basic health care, the mobile team consisted of a doctor and laboratory technicians, midwives and nurses, including 230 adult consultations, 140 children in pediatrics, and 13 pregnant women in prenatal consultations. The Obok mobile team has also diagnosed 6 cases of children with moderate malnutrition who were immediately taken in charge by the nutrition unit, and also 19 other children were able to receive their doses of vaccination. On the international scene now, Jose Manuel Maza charged them with rebellion, sedition and misuse of public funds. The Spanish Attorney General today, October 30, announced charges against the Catalan government and members of parliament after illegally declaring independence from Spain. He charged them with rebellion, sedition and misuse of public funds. Jose Manuel did not order the immediate arrest of deposed Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont and other members of Catalan's political leadership. He did, however, call on them to present themselves in a Madrid court in the coming days. And that's it for tonight's news. Thank you for joining us on RTD channel. Have a good night.